Yo, Amateur Lore here, and today we're not doing the usual college football videos. Since March Madness is right around the corner, I decided why not take a look at some of the most insane NCAA men's basketball tournament runs of all time. Simple, right? If you guys really enjoy this, I'll get to work on a part 2. And also be sure to comment some magical March Madness runs you remember. But yeah, make sure to like and sub if you enjoy the content. Now let's jump right in. Alright, so for the first college basketball team that I'm going to be covering in this video that had an insane Cinderella-like run in March Madness, it's going to be the 2023 NC State Wolfpack. And when looking into this team's NCAA tournament run, I saw a lot of similarities to the 1982 Wolfpack squad that won the Natty led by the late great Jimmy V. Why do I say this? Well, because at the end of the regular season going into the ACC conference tournament, this squad wasn't looking like it was going to make it into the dance, and with no exaggeration need to most likely win the ACC tournament against blue bloods like Duke and North Carolina to get in. But whoa, I'm getting way ahead of myself. So let's take a look at the coach and the starting 5 of this Wolfpack squad. At head coach in his 7th year up to that point was Kevin Keats, and major props to him because whatever he did to turn this team around at the most crucial point in the season was nothing short of a miracle, because this team as a whole ranked right in the middle in about every stat that matters in college basketball. At the guard position, this team had 3 studs putting in work. DJ Horn, who would average 16.9 points, 3.5 boards, and 2 assists. Jaden Taylor, who would average 11, 3, and 1. And to round out the guards, we have Casey Morcell, who would finish the year averaging 11, 2, and 1. Okay, moving over to the Twin Towers, we got Muhammad Diarra, I probably pronounced that wrong, sorry, at center, who would clean up the boards, averaging 6 and 7. And finally, at the forward position, we have DJ Burns or Zach Randolph Jr., who'd average 12, 4, and 2. But trust me, he looked like a completely different player once they got into March Madness. So since there are so many more games in the college basketball season than the usual college football videos I make, we're going to speed our way through the regular season and then go real slow when we get to the tournament part of the video. Alright, so through the first 17 games of the regular season, the Wolfpack would be sitting at 13 and 4 and would be playing pretty good ball up to that point, but once they got into the thick of conference play, their season would start to spiral out of control, as in their next 14 games they would go 4 and 10, finishing off the regular season with a 17 and 14 record, limping their way into the ACC tournament and honestly looking like they would be a one and done. But one of the things I love most about sports is that energy and momentum can be built from just one good win, heck, sometimes even a good play. And if the Wolfpack could win their round 1 game in the ACC tournament against the Louisville Cardinals, then honestly anything could happen, and maybe they could somehow win this tournament, sneaking their way into the big dance. But first, Louisville, and if they got lucky, then Syracuse.
Here in DC, Huntley Hatfield a kick out for Clark's 3.
Season, that's got to make you feel good about your preparation, correct?
Yeah, it's 100%. I mean, they're doing everything right. And
Casey Morcell unable to get it to go, and of course a little more pressure on Casey playing in front of about 25 friends and family. No pressure like it earlier, and for guys who shoot and play with a lot of rhythm, that always helps.
3 ball away, and had to go to Huntley Hatfield. Taylor has made some terrific defensive stops for State, and at the other end, Woods threw it up there, and it dropped in.
One of the toughest calls in basketball.
But Coach, as you've been in this game, which is seemingly forever, you've seen how much different it is to be able to get a charge. I mean, now in comparison to 9 rebounds over his last 10 games, so he's been playing the best basketball of his career as of late.
I agree. Morcell, hard shot.
He's Famer wants it going back inside the 30.
To 30, yep.
Another one. That was close to another charge.
Morcell, conference at Thompson Gym. He was a legend. He was a luminary. He was a trusted friend.
They've got about 5 guards in there, don't they?
Taylor's got 10. Louisville trailing 3. Clark for the tie. Coming. That's Glenn and Johnson on the big man. Taylor launching again, and it rattles in. 35 seconds left. And a pitch ahead. Here is Taylor and the layup.
The shot. Amazing he got that pass free. The long jumper will be nothing.
You just allow him to just beat you up one-on-one.
A creative passer, too. Mintz lost it, gets it. 3 minutes, made a ton of foul shots.
Yeah, they absolutely did. It was this young man, Casey Morcell, who made 13 for 13. And this time,
Burns on the high post. Trying to spin, and a lot of iron, but it won't drop. He wins it back. Somehow, a second effort, and switched in by Taylor. In the first half, he has 11 in the second half. That hip's feeling better. Another shot from him, and knocks back a 3. College and Clemson, number 11 and number 6. Here's Morcell on the other end.
In the ACC first round game, the Wolfpack would win 94-85 against the Cardinals. And although they won the game by 9, this game was going back and forth in the first half, and would take the Wolfpack till about 10 minutes in the second half to finally start to pull away. One reason this game was so close had to be because of the Louisville guard Sky Clark, who would drop 36 points, which is crazy seeing in college basketball. Casey Morcell would keep up with the opposition guard though, scoring 25 of his own to lead the Wolfpack in scoring and help clutch up this W. NC State would move on and be rewarded with the matchup against the Syracuse Orange. And like I said earlier, there isn't anything more infectious and contagious than momentum, and the Wolfpack were building it up, as they would play one of their best games in a while, outscoring the Orange 48-33 in the second half to win the game convincingly 83-65. In advance to the quarter-final round matchup against the Duke Blue Devils, led by two future NBA first-round picks, Jared McCain and Kyle Filipowski. What the Wolfpack had done so far in this ACC tourney was really cute, but let's be for real. There's no way this NC State squad could beat the 11th ranked Duke Blue Devils, especially when you put into context that this Duke squad was playing loose and free since they were already a lock to make the dance, while this Wolfpack squad was in playoff mode and a loss would end their season in hopes of making the NCAA tourney. Long story short, how could the little bro in the state of North Carolina beat Big Bro?
Also, you can't be scared, and for the Wolfpack, ain't nobody scared, OB.
They have forced a ton of turnovers here. We'll talk a lot about tension and thrown away again. Duke looking like they haven't played in about a month at this point and switched in by
others. That adds another dimension to this Blue Devil team.
Voted to the All-ACC rookie team. Diarra's right.
As you see the outlet pass from Diarra, but he put it so perfectly in place, he was able to pick it up in stride.
Filipowski slams it down. Over the top, Mitchell, good catch and a slam. They want Horn to touch it. He does. Two to get a shot in the air on the drive. He hits it.
And off the basketball, you get those type of upper fingers.
14 for Filipowski. What we talk about.
He's got to take advantage of those opportunities with Roach behind him.
Roach, long range, yes sir. Horn getting trapped, but he got out of it with a pass. Cross court, O'Connell, open. Yes sir. Morcell, long range, can't drain it. Rebound tapped out high, Morcell grabbed it. He got there first, and finished it. He's stepping into a triple. O'Connell with the rebound, sees Diarra up ahead. Back for Morcell for the slam. 16 points tonight. Proctor looking to answer, leaning in, and it'll 1:27 to play. Burns wants the paint, swooping in, and lays it home.
It's been executed perfectly by the Wolfpack throughout this game.
Power from the corner, no. Proctor gets it back. That won't drop, and NC State wins it over Duke.
Little bro would beat up on Big Bro 74-69. Well, let me not say beat up, because this game versus Duke was extremely competitive, as each team would exchange the lead multiple times, and even though the Duke star, Kyle Filipowski, would drop 28 points with 14 boards, every time Duke would try to make a run, the Wolfpack would strike back and eventually would run away with the game, winning the ACC tournament quarterfinal against Duke and moving on to the semifinals in a matchup with the Virginia Cavaliers. Both of these teams were evenly matched, as the biggest lead in this game during regulation was something like 6. And yeah, I said regulation because this game would need extra minutes to decide a winner, but before we would even get to overtime, the Wolfpack would need a miracle, as they would be down 3 with 6 seconds left on the clock.
Morcell gets it off. Can't hit it. McNeely's got it, and they foul him. In the season, but this is 1-1. And he missed it. 4 seconds. O'Connell gets it off. And oh! Michael O'Connell banks in a prayer to send this game to overtime. Again, Burns looking at the official. Again, feeling there should have been a call. That one's going to count. Good pass. Diarra, no. Diarra's got it back. Shot clock didn't reset. O'Connell on a great feed from Horn. McNeely. Game over. Their 4th win in 4 days.
Michael O'Connell will send up a prayer, and the gods were listening, as his shot would somehow hit the backboard and find its way into the hoop, sending the game into overtime, and from there the Wolfpack would take over, outscoring Virginia 15-7, winning the game in overtime 73-65. At this point, I'd say the Wolfpack team was the team of destiny this year, and there was literally zero chance they made it this far into the ACC tournament to not win the whole thing and secure a spot in the big dance, something that seemed like a pipe dream not too long ago for NC State. The Wolfpack would be matched against their biggest rivals, 4th ranked North Carolina in the ACC championship, and if I'm being honest, this Wolfpack team was just like I said, this year's team of destiny. No cap, because in one of the biggest games of the year, the Wolfpack would shoot 54% from the field and 43% from the 3-point line. With shooting splits like that, it goes without saying that the Wolfpack would do the unlikely and upset the Tar Heels 84-76, winning the ACC tournament. Even though NC State would go on an insane run, because their regular season was so lackluster, they would only be seated at the 11th spot in the Southwestern region bracket. And in their first game of March Madness, they would be matched up against the 6th-seeded Texas Tech Red Raiders. Since the Wolfpack were extremely hot and were carrying so much momentum into the tourney, they would win by 13 against the Red Raiders, 80-67, moving NC State on to the second round of the tournament, where they would be matched up against the 14th seed Oakland Golden Grizzlies. Wait, how did this happen? How did the Wolfpack get blessed with the game versus the 14th seed when they should have been playing against the 3rd seeded Kentucky Wildcats? Well, long story short, Coach Calipari is a fraud, and Kentucky would get upset by the Golden Grizzlies, setting up a matchup against the Wolfpack that would take an extra quarter of basketball to decide a winner.
You can see DJ Horn, the pressure he's putting on Lampman right there.
Lampman struggled the other night, and his first shot is off the mark. Michael O'Connell running the break up ahead to
Getting the ball up and getting down the floor before Oakland can match up with that.
Lampman trying to answer, and he does.
It looks like it's a little spread out. See, they got it to the corner that time.
And Golke goes up for the rebound. Inside 7 minutes left in the first half. Golke, here he goes, fakes the shot. The three is gone.
Defender, and Golke gets that ball way up. That's not easy to block.
Diarra, deep position, and he scored. Burns, and here comes the double. Burns spins away from it. Golke is now 4 of 11 from deep. O'Connell wide open. It's pure. He said that the other night against Kentucky as well, and they won by 4. Corner three is good with 7 of them. Golke trying to answer. He's fouled. O'Connell with 5 on the shot clock. O'Connell drives right in, draws the foul, and it goes! Taylor for 3. It's short. Burns is there to clean it up. Conway all over Burns. The pass to Taylor. Big shot! Seconds left. Up ahead O'Connell with 2. And the Wolfpack are riding this wave all the way.
NC State would pull off the win against the Oakland Golden Grizzlies in the second round of the men's basketball tourney, 79-73 in overtime, led by a 24-point game from DJ Burns. And although this game went into overtime, NC State was in control for most of the game, helping them to advance to the Sweet 16 against the second-seeded Marquette Golden Eagles. At this point in the tournament, the Wolfpack were playing ball like they should have been the second seed, because they had built up so much momentum coming into their Sweet 16 matchup that Marquette wouldn't really stand a chance, as NC State would be at 13 going into the second half and would eventually win the game 67-58, securing the Wolfpack a spot in the Elite Eight versus their conference rivals 4th-seeded Duke. And you should know Duke was itching to get revenge on the Wolfpack after they suffered that tough upset in their ACC tournament game. And through the first half, it looked like NC State had met their match, as they would be down 6 going into the second half. Could the Wolfpack mount a comeback against this team full of future NBA players, or would this Cinderella story end right here?
They trailed in that game. That was not a guarantee by any stretch. And amazing what this run has done.
That possession, DR with 3 fouls. Post him up with Filipowski.
That ball stuck there. Open Lord, got a 3! They need a jolt here. 8 to shoot. Swing it. Roach splits defenders, drives in. So away by Middlebrooks. What a job he's been doing, this kid. Get it up the floor. O'Connell steps into it. Oh, splash!
Gotta look ahead. They got somebody open if they want.
It's Burns. Floats it up and in. It's banger after banger for DJ Burns.
It took all the team to pick him up as well.
It would take a lot of effort for the Wolfpack to climb their way back into the game, but with around 13 minutes left in the second half, NC State would finally tie and take the lead, led by 2 huge free throws from DJ Horn. And from there, NC State would catch a rhythm, dominating Duke for the rest of the game, and ultimately winning 76-64, advancing the NC State Wolfpack to the Final Four, where they'd be matched up against the first player to ever win the National Player of the Year award back-to-back, the 2023 NCAA scoring champion and the future NBA first-round pick, Zach Edey, and the number 1 seeded Purdue Boilermakers. Man, it's crazy to think that at one point during the season, the Wolfpack were legit looking like they'd be spending March in the NIT, unless they did the unthinkable in the ACC tourney and won out, which we know at this point in the video that's exactly what they did, which was absolutely crazy. But as happy as the Wolfpack were with making it this far, the Final Four wasn't good enough. At this point, they wanted to win the Natty. Could the Wolfpack be the first team to ever make the men's basketball championship from the 11th seed, or would they come up just short against the powerhouse Boilermakers squad?
We have had all the madness of March, and now it's the reality of April. One of these 2 teams will be advancing to the national championship game for NC State. They last won the title in 1983 for Purdue. Last Final Four was 1980. Rebound right back to Edey. Couldn't bank it in. Rebound controlled by Jones. Another opportunity. Lawyer got a 3.
Can make some mistakes, takes the trip off.
And you mentioned more
Look at the pass.
No shots yet. Getting to the rim off the... For Toronto's Zach Edey. Horn lines it up. Knocks it down. Swing back. Taylor, 6 to shoot.
I like that.
Line it up. Knock it down.
He's done a nice job on entries, helping out.
Edey, kick. That's big. Cotton all the way. Couldn't spin it in, and Middlebrooks trying to clear. Get it ahead. Smith safe on that slide. At DJ.
A repost.
Edie.
That right hook's coming.
Edie, money.
Same idea. And State, in a sense, the same. You know, struggled all year long, put it together late in the season.
And that's it. Purdue in pursuit of a championship.
The Wolfpack would play their hearts out but would just run into the better team, losing to Purdue in the Final Four 63-50. NC State kept this game close early as going into halftime the Wolfpack would only be down 6, but would be unable to keep up with the Boilermakers late as Purdue would start to slowly pull away in the second half. It seemed like NC State's luck had run out this game as this would be one of their worst shooting performances of the tournament, shooting 37% from the field and 26% from the 3-point line. With splits like this, it's no wonder the Wolfpack would lose by 13, but that still doesn't take away from the incredible run that NC State went on. As we have to remember, coming into the ACC tournament, the Wolfpack looked like they wouldn't even be making it into the NCAA tournament. So the fact that they made it this far is just incredible and one of the best things about March Madness. Alright, so from one Cinderella March Madness run, we rotate over to another one, and probably one of the most unlikely tournament runs in recent history. For this squad, we have to travel to the great city of Chicago to talk about the 2017/2018 Loyola Chicago Ramblers and their incredible Disney movie-like run in March Madness. Where do I start with this team? Well, first I have to mention that before this team would make the tournament in the year 2017/18, the Ramblers were going on a 30-plus year drought of not making the NCAA tournament, which is insane to think about in one of the beauties of college basketball. A school who hasn't made the tourney in 30 plus years can make the dance, and once you get in, anything can happen. Anyway, let's take a look at the dudes making moves on this 2017 Rambler squad. Calling the plays and drawing up the X's and O's in his 6 year up to that point was Coach Porter Moiser. And shout out to him because luck is a real thing, but you can't do what they did this year without a good coach holding the team down. Jumping over to the starting 5, at the guard spots we had Clayton Cluster who would average 13, 2, and 4, Marquise Towns who would average 11, 4, and 2, and to round out the guards Dante Ingram who would put up 11, 6, and 1. Moving over to the big man in the forward position, the team lead was Andre Jackson averaging 11 and 3, and finally at the center position, Cameron Krutwig, who would average 10, 6, and 1. Oh yeah, and how could I forget? Probably the most important person a part of the squad, Sister Jean Dolores, who would average 25 prayers a game with 10 blessings and 3 hallelujahs. And this is a fun fact, Sister Jean is currently 105 years old while I'm making this video, and she's still alive and kicking it. God bless her and her beautiful soul. So usually I just jump right into the tournament, but for this squad I have to show one of the regular season games from this year because it was huge and probably locked them up a spot in the dance regardless if they won their conference tournament because this one was so big. Who'd they play? Well, if you know me, then you should know this one hurt to revisit.
4-point game as we near the 14-minute mark. This man is hot. This man keeps hitting up. A quick shot here, 5 to shoot. Comes into Ingram. The lefty launches and got it with home court advantage to be in. Satterwhite. What a pass and pull. 8-1 on the year, trying to pull off another upset. Unbelievable.
The Ramblers would give the beats to my 5th-ranked Florida Gators, winning 65-59. Big shout out to Andre Jackson. His 23 points were huge in the upset win against the Gators. This win would definitely help Loyola Chicago's chances of making the tournament, but something strange would happen after this huge win. The Ramblers would fall off a cliff, losing 3 out of their next 5 games. This was a tough stretch for our boys, and they would need to bounce back faster. Their chances of making the dance would disappear faster than the hoes do when I come around. Fortunately for the Ramblers, and I guess unfortunately for me, they would return to playing elite basketball. As to finish out the regular season, the Ramblers would go 15-1, finishing the regular season with an overall record of 25-5. Going back in time before conference tournament week, I was trying to find out if this Rambler squad was an on-the-bubble team or a lock to make the big dance. But I guess since they play in the MVC or the Missouri Valley Conference, since it's a one big league, you pretty much have to win the conference tournament if you want to make the dance. The Ramblers were riding a 7-game winning streak going into the Missouri Valley Conference tournament, and would need to extend that streak to 10 if they wanted to control their own destiny and not put their postseason hopes in the hands of some computers or dudes in suits. Could Loyola Chicago run the table and punch their ticket to the big dance? Okay, so it turns out that I can't find some of the highlights from Arch Madness, which is a sick nickname for a conference tournament, by the way. So we're going to fast forward to the Arch Madness championship game where the Ramblers would face off against Illinois State. To get to this game, though, Loyola would defeat Northern Iowa 54-50 and Bradley 62-54, setting up a winner-take-all game with conference rival Illinois State.
All the problems they've had, they're still within 5 points.
It's Custer, and it's a 3, and it's down the head. Krutwig saves it. Here comes Towns, Marcus Towns. Here's the transfer from Fairleigh Dickinson.
And so far has done a nice job keeping them in front. They're not letting guys get to the basket. And there's another perfect example of it.
Gassman, Hine, good touch pass, Njai. Friday by 4. Custer, Richardson, Ingram, 3, Pickett.
There you go. And they're about to do it.
You can see some of the players on that ball club 33 years ago. The final seconds, for the first time in 33 years, Loyola is going to the NCAA tournament.
Loyola would give Illinois State the work, winning in a dominant fashion 65-49, securing the Missouri Valley Conference title and punching their ticket to the NCAA basketball tournament for the first time in 33 years, and would be awarded with the 11th seed, which I know they play in a weak conference, but come on, they went 28-5 and had a huge win on the road against the top 5 team, and won their conference title. I think they should have at least been given the 9th seed or something, but I guess being the 11th seed makes for a way better story, which if I'm being honest, it really does. Anyway, who would be unlucky enough to match up against the 11th seeded Loyola Chicago Ramblers, who were riding a 10-game winning streak coming into the dance? Well, that would be the 6th-seeded Miami Hurricanes, and I was honestly surprised going back in time and seeing what some of the experts thought about this game, as a lot of people actually had the Ramblers keeping this game close with the Canes, and maybe even winning. But it's one thing to think a team can maybe win and actually doing it. So Loyola would have to show the world what they were made of under the bright lights, and if they could somehow pull off this win, they would be rewarded with the matchup against the 3rd-seeded Tennessee Volunteers, which saying that out loud doesn't sound like that much of a reward, but it is what it is.
Shot from Hugh, a long go, and Richardson the other way. Here is Dante Ingram. Elmore has gold on Woody. It is.
We've seen some outstanding plays on offense.
Jackson. Here's Williamson holding. We come up on the final 60 seconds. Custer from deep. Split down to 6. Newton, long 2, and he's here. They come up. One timeout, they don't take it. Fresh off their first tournament victory since 2014. On a 38% three-point shooter on the season. Jackson, masterful with his feet. Beautiful setup into the corner. Custer probes the defense. Richardson, 1 to shoot. Long 2. Got it! Here's Bone backing it away and resetting. Shot clock at 8.
Boy, look at Williams. Down low.
Finding some dip. Turner from deep. Buries it. Tennessee with their highest seeding in nearly a decade in the tournament. Down 2. Williams right to the rack. And he is fouled. Inbound to Custer. Here comes the player of the year. The MVP rises. No timeouts for Tennessee. Bone rises. And the dream is alive. Loyola rambling on to the Sweet 16.
The Ramblers would play in back-to-back nail-biters, starting with the 6th-seeded Canes. This game would go back and forth to start the game, with neither team really being able to assert their dominance, as going into halftime the score would be tied at 28-all. Miami would come out of halftime going on a run and looking like they would run away with the game, but Loyola would weather the storm and keep the game close, going into the final minutes of this nail-biting first-round game. With less than a minute left on the clock, the Miami stud Lonnie Walker would drill a mid-range jumper, giving the Canes the lead. The Ramblers would miss their opportunity to capitalize and have to send the Canes to the line. Lonnie Walker would miss the free throw, and from there it would be history, as Ben Richardson would grab the board and Dante Ingram would drive a 3, calling game and sending the Ramblers to the second round of the NCAA tournament, where they would be matched up against the 3rd-seeded Tennessee Vols. Loyola would once again see themselves in a nail-biter. Fast forwarding to the second half in this game, the Ramblers would be up about 8 points with about 3 minutes left in the ball game. Tennessee would storm back, not wanting their tournament to end early, to the underdog, as Grant Williams would nail a jumper and get fouled, making a free throw, putting the Vols up by 1 with 20 seconds left on the clock. Most teams wouldn't have been able to handle the pressure of having to hit another clutch last-second shot, but this Rambler squad was built different, as Clayton Cluster would hit a jumper that would bounce in, giving the Ramblers the lead 63-62, and from there they would hold on, upsetting the 3rd-seeded Vols and moving on to the Sweet 16, where they would face off against the 7th-seeded Nevada Wolfpack, led by current 76er Caleb Martin. At this point in the tournament, the world was captivated by this Loyola Chicago squad, and the world wanted them to make it as far as they could. With all that being said, the Wolfpack had other plans on their minds, as they wanted to make the Elite Eight just as much as the Ramblers. Would America's team at this point move on, or would the justice-hungry Wolfpack put it into this Disney movie?
Guarding Cody Martin right now. Custer has the other Martin twin who knocked Richardson. Looking for Custer, dump it inside to Krutwig. In and out they go. Long range 3. And thriving here with Nevada and Musselman system. Can't get the open shot. Good defense by Nevada. Shot fake. And it's good. Cody Martin running the point. This is the same starting 5 that was on the floor to close it out. Caleb Martin. Williams right on. Step for step. And the double team comes and he still shoots. That's a key offensive rebound. But Cody Martin steals it away. Caleb on the push. Caleb all the way in. Scores!
4 points. Can they focus? Calm down. Execute.
Custer runs into a wall. Here's Jackson for three. And it rattles in.
Made great job with the extra pass.
Caleb Martin, he's taking the big shots all year. And he buried power programs. Custer, crossover, kicks it. Towns for three. Yes, sir! Here we go. Got to get one up quick and then need a foul. And here's Caleb Martin, and he hits a three. Go. And now the foul. Oh, the clock ended. Did he get it off? No. That's the game. That is the ball game. Loyola, Chicago.
Loyola would come out on top of the Nevada Wolfpack 69-68. The Ramblers would survive the late surge from the Martin twins and would see themselves up only by 1 with less than 10 seconds left on the clock, with the shot clock winding down when Towns would nail a huge 3 in the corner, giving the Ramblers a 4-point cushion and putting the game virtually out of reach. The Ramblers were locked in this game as they would shoot over 50% from the field and would shoot just under 40% from 3. With splits like this and all the momentum this basketball team had at this point, it shouldn't be no surprise that they were moving on to the Elite Eight, where they would be matched up against the 9th-seeded Kansas State Wildcats. This was the one game in the tournament that you could say Loyola Chicago would win easily, as this game would be all Ramblers going into halftime as they would be up by 12 points. This team would improve on their shooting splits from their previous game, which is crazy, shooting 57% from the field and 50% from the 3-point line. That goes without saying. The final score would end up being 78-62, and it's kind of funny that how in one of the biggest games in program history, the Ramblers would absolutely ball out, shooting near perfect and holding the opposition under 35% from the field, securing Loyola Chicago a spot in the Final Four versus the 3rd-seeded Michigan Wolverines and NBA champion Jordan Poole. I don't even think I need to explain how huge of a game this was, as Loyola was the lowest seed to make the Final Four since VCU did back in 2011. And I know the Michigan faithful wanted Big Blue to take the W, but at this point into March Madness, everybody and their mama wanted the Ramblers to do the unthinkable. I remember at the time my grandparents being invested in this story and rooting for this squad during this game. And this is honestly one of the best things about sports. Gutsy underdogs like Loyola could capture the entire nation just by playing ball and giving it their all. Michigan versus Loyola Chicago in the Final Four. Who'd be advancing to the Natty?
Saturday night in the Final Four. It is fabulous, and what a fantastic host city it is. San Antonio for the 4th time, and on the 50-year anniversary of hosting the World's Fair, now they host the world of college basketball, and all of its fans, including Sister Jean, as the Loyola Chicago Ramblers take the floor at the Alamo Dome.
Michigan going for the knockout punch early. It's important. Loyola has some composure and gets good shots.
2 freshmen will jump center. Livers, Krutwig, and the Final Four is underway.
Jim Nance, Grant Hill. The Ramblers go!
Pass Custer on Wagner. They can't recognize it.
They're automatic switching on him.
Outside shot. It's
all rebound and push, and they can put it on the deck too. Towns.
Turn around, yes.
Get him on the perimeter, those ISO situations.
Line drive.
Jackson gets it back, goes to the other side. How about
likes to bounce himself to ecstasy here. Drop step, either hand.
Oh, yes. Wagner, head fake, gets past Krutwig, passes it down.
Nice job rotating by Simpson.
Custer gets a 3. On their first 3 NCAA tournament games by a total of 4 points. Put it in the bank, move on.
Cool. Nice little drive by.
First stretch.
Nice pump. They do that great.
Krutwig underneath.
Weak side's open, Poole.
That's a nice drag dribble.
How about that?
Look at the helping the helper. Great activity defensively.
Richardson.
And Baleen. Well, they're really taking over now. I think fatigue's
fantastic run it was, but it's Michigan taking the semi-final game 69.
Both teams would come to play in this Final Four matchup, and unfortunately for our beloved underdogs, the Ramblers would lose to Michigan 69-57 in the Final Four. Early on, it looked like Loyola might be able to pull off the huge upset and become one of the most unlikely teams to ever reach the Natty, as they would be up by 7 going into halftime. But from there, Michigan would come out and dominate, having a response for every run that the Ramblers would try to go on. In the end, the Wolverines would just be too much. That still doesn't take away from the fact that this 2017/2018 Loyola Chicago squad put together one of the most remarkable March Madness runs of all time. And even though they didn't win the Natty, this season from them is one that I I don't think will be forgotten anytime soon. Booking a flight from Chicago, we head to the state that I call home, Florida, and go back in time to the year 2012/2013 to talk about one of the most exciting teams to ever make a run in March Madness, the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles, also known as Dunk City. Where do I start with this team? Well, first off, did you guys know that Florida Gulf Coast has only been playing high-level basketball for 18 years? Prior to researching this team for this video, I didn't know that they were pretty much babies in the D1 basketball scene, but being new to the show wouldn't stop this program, as it would take them only 5 years since their inception to make it into the dance. Damn, I just realized this video is going to push like 40 minutes if I don't speed things up. So let's take a look at some of the key figures a part of this 2012/2013 Florida Gulf Coast squad. Leading the program in his second year up to that point, the mayor of Dunk City, head coach Andy Einfeld, and I probably said that wrong, but shout out to this dude, because right after this year, bro left for a bigger bag, which I mean, I kind of respect it. You gotta strike while the iron's hot, right? Skating over to the starting five, at the guard spot we have Sherwood Brown, who'd average nearly 16 points a game with 6 rebounds, Bernard Thompson putting up 14, 4, and 1, and finally to round out the guards, Brett Comer averaging 8, 3, and 6. Sliding over to the men who spend majority of their time in the paint, we have forward Chase Feeler putting up 12 and 5, and finally to finish up the starting five, Eric McKnight, who would average 6 and 4 for the season. Opening up the 2012 college basketball season, the Eagles wouldn't get off to a dominant start. They would be just about average, as they were sitting at 12 and 8 through their first 20 games of the season. As you should know, since they play in a conference that really doesn't produce many March Madness teams, with how they were looking so far in the season, the best case scenario for this squad was hopefully they could catch some momentum before the Atlantic Sun Conference tournament and ride that to a tournament championship, giving them an automatic bid to the NCAA men's basketball tournament. But whoa, I'm getting way ahead of myself, right? It's not like that is exactly what would happen. Well, to finish off the regular season, the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles would go 9-2, putting their record at 21 and 10, and earning them the second seed in their conference tournament, where they would need to run the table to punch their ticket to prom. To open up the tournament, they would roll by their first two opponents, winning 73-64 against North Florida and 72-58 against Stetson, setting them up for a winner-take-all conference championship game against Mercer. The first half of this game would see both teams nearly deadlocked, as going into halftime the score would be FGCU 38, Mercer 36. But it was apparent when the Eagles came out of the locker room that they were dead set on making it to the tourney for the first time in this young program's history, as they would outscore Mercer 50-39 in the second half, winning the Atlantic Sun's men's championship game 88-75, sending the Eagles to March Madness. FGCU had popped their March Madness cherries and were feeling like men now. And that's cool and all, but they'd be giving the 15th seed. And in their first game of the tournament, they'd be matched up against the second seeded Georgetown Hoyas. Making it into the tourney was great, but only 6 15 seeds up to this point have ever survived their round 1 matchup since 1949. Was it even possible for the Eagles to accomplish this monumental feat?
Florida Gulf Coast Eagles in their tournament debut. Only 6 years they've been a D1 school, and only 2 years, this the second, where they've been eligible, and away we go from Philadelphia.
Two contrasting styles here. Mentioned a lot of isolation. Learned that at the lowest level of basketball, never to turn your back.
Markel starts for the first half. Georgetown led by 7. They scored only 4 points the rest of the way, missing 13 of 15 shots. 108 a start on the baseline by Jabril Trollick. He's got 4 boards. Lubick at the other end. What up?
To work on hand-eye coordination with those kinds of passes.
Thompson pushing 15 to play. Shot clock at 5. Comer.
Oh,
Murray traps the switch.
Scared because of Georgetown and the pedigree.
Porter is 2 of 8. As Lenny just 4 points tonight.
No.
Brown the 3. Oh! Brown. Bowen is now coming off the John Thompson third bench. Good feed. Comer.
Nice job by Porter right there.
Oh, and a throw away. Now Porter comes in. Murray throws.
Great team.
Homer now with 8 points and 8 rebounds. And here is Porter. Outside Trollick at 3. And Porter with the big rebound. Off balancing for 2. And Bowen with the tap in. And he's got 6 for Georgetown. Brown. Comer. Up the top! Oh, no! He drops the answer!
I like the idea of staying aggressive defensively. Yeah.
Sparks is dancing on the defense. He hits another one. Was against the Miami Hurricane. And maybe their biggest run of the season comes in the NCAA tournament.
Florida Gulf Coast would do the unthinkable and upset the second-seeded Georgetown Hoyas 78-68. This game would start off pretty normal, well actually it would be really slow, as in the first half neither team would be able to find a real rhythm on offense, as majority of the buckets would be earned from the charity stripe. As going into the half, FGCU would actually lead Georgetown by 2, but in the second half the world would be introduced to Dunk City, as the Eagles would actually see themselves up by as much as 17 with about 9 minutes left in the game. Georgetown would claw their way back, making the game somewhat competitive, but a late lob that would make the Florida Gulf Coast crowd go crazy would seal the deal, sending the Eagles to the next round, where they would see themselves matched up against the 7th-seeded San Diego State Aztecs. At this point, Florida Gulf Coast had already put their name in the history books with that huge upset win over Georgetown. But up to this point in college basketball history, no 15th seed has ever made it to the Sweet 16. And I know since the year 2012 we've had 3 more 15 seeds pull off this feat, but up to this point it had never been done before. So the Eagles were walking into uncharted territory. But Florida Gulf Coast was new to this March Madness stuff, and we're really playing with house money, so anything could happen, right?
They don't run a lot of plays with these athletes, so they want to get going quickly. Trounced that tape versus Georgetown because all those alley-oops has very done
with a nice fake. Rehan outside, working on Brown to the rack. Gets his own miss, up and down. Under 4 to play and down by 5. Here comes Florida Gulf Coast and Thompson on the wing. This is over Franklin.
Oh, goodness. This game gets to double digits.
Comer somehow finds McKnight. Comer has a bench. Shot clock continues to roll down to 13. Here comes Barry. Takes it high and climbs up for the dunk and a foul called on the play.
You can't be as aggressive as you want defensively.
And you also can't try and play mano-a-mano. This is kind of mixed now. You got the San Diego State folks urging their team on.
Intercepted by Comer. Here come the Eagles. Comer has Rehan on his heels and feeds to Thompson. What? Here comes Tapley, knifing his way through another turnover. It's picked up by Brown.
Trying to do far too much right now, so that tells you.
Under 4 to play.
That's why you don't use a great deal of the objective when you're judging teams and how they're going to compete.
McKnight from Comer.
Florida Gulf Coast would shoot lights out in their game versus the Aztecs, as they would shoot 55% from the field and just under 40% from 3. With a performance like this, it shouldn't shock anyone that the Eagles would come out on top 81-71, sending Florida Gulf Coast to the Sweet 16 where they'd be matched up against my favorite college basketball team, the 3rd-seeded Florida Gators. This Gators team was built a little different, and that's not my bias talking. So the Eagles were really climbing an uphill battle, walking into Arlington, Texas for their battle with the Gators in the Sweet 16. Regardless of the outcome, this Florida Gulf Coast squad had already made history, as up to this point, no 15th seed had ever made it this far. But F all that, I don't think the Eagles were worried about history. They wanted to win the Natty. They didn't make it this far to just fall to another team from the state of Florida. Who'd win the Battle of Florida from Texas? The Eagles or the Gators?
And I think for Florida, if they can contain the Eagles, if they can contain tempo as Feeler lines up a 3. Feeler for 3. Yes! Shots, make stops, and grind them out as the 40 minutes wear on. Nice ball movement. A little different look from the Florida defense with that zone. And again, Florida Gulf Coast has some trouble getting an open look. Here is Burton, yes! Back on the floor. Brown off the head fake on Frazier. Gets inside and Comer got the pick from Murray. Comer in the lane, flips one home. Comer making the turn. Brown pulls it back. Nice move and hits. Sure will put it in play. Rosario. What a move. And it will be the Gators of Florida going up against the Wolverines of Michigan in the Elite Eight on Sunday here at Cowboy Stadium in North Texas.